Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am James here from the Resistance Broadcast, and today we're going to be talking about Willow, episode 5. All right, this one is called Wildwood, and that is what it's about. The gang is being chased, and they decide to head into the Wildwood, which we've seen things like this before a bunch of times, like namely Lord of the Rings, for instance, right? The woods are dangerous. Don't go into the woods. You might not make it out alive. You may lose your way and you never escape the woods, things like that. All that's very similar to things we've seen before, but when they get captured inevitably by the Bone Reavers, right? That's when things start to change about this episode because there's a little bit of tension at first, obviously, but once we find out a little bit more about the history of Jade, right? She apparently is a long-lost daughter of the person who started the Bone Reavers and all this, and was a very key pivotal character in the original movie. So once we find out about Jade's past, the truth starts to come out. And I do say that, pun intended, right? Because, after all the tensions and everybody's released and they start a party, right? Because they're celebrating the return of Jade, and they all indulge in this libation of sorts, which prevents people from lying, right? I think this is just a storytelling way to sort of break up the tension and release some of the stuff that they're holding on the inside. Many of their inner secrets, or I should say secrets or inner demons maybe, that will eventually lead to potentially healing, right? It's like the truth may sting, but it's eventually going to be healed. I think this whole situation, this whole party where everybody's telling all their truths, is sort of a way of pouring hydrogen peroxide on the whole thing. Like it's bad at first, but you may not only heal your wound, you may actually make it better, especially in this case of the show, right? So we have the beginnings, potentially, at least what I would predict, is of the team being broken sort of at this point, but moving forward, they'll begin to heal now that they've revealed more about themselves and their own personalities and their desires and stuff. So I think this is the point of the show where we kind of hit like a low, because we're halfway through now. This is the beginning of the second half of the first season, or potentially series. We don't know what they're going to do, right? So this is now the rise up. They're at their bottom. They've broken themselves, and we are about to start that ascent towards them working as a team and to stop working in separate minds, right? Now, with that being said, I think there's a lot of interesting dynamics at play going on in the group right now, right? So we now know more that there's a relationship between Kit and Jade, and that it's even more complicated than you would assume because there's the relationship between the fatherhood, right? My dad killed your dad. They even say that in the show. So we have that situation going on, but it doesn't, I mean, that could be interesting in the future, but it doesn't seem to be stopping them now as they're more admittedly truthful about their feelings, right, towards each other. And it also seems clear, as they stated in the episode, that the rest of the group also knows that too. So that is out in the air now, right? So they can move forward and stop pretending or stop hiding that. Okay, that's one good thing, right? The next thing is we have that deepening love between Graydon and Elora, right? Now, Elora, maybe not so much on that side, but it's very clear that over a few episodes now, it seems like Graydon is being drawn closer and closer to Elora, and we'll see where that goes, but I would say that has to be not for nothing, right? Like, why do that if nothing is going to happen with him? Like, he's going to have to tell her, or she's going to have to pick up on that's happening. And there's either going to, I don't know. We'll see where it goes, right? It's very clear he likes her, and we'll see where that goes. But that's starting to become even more and more evident in this episode because he's being a little bit more open about what he's saying because of the drinks, right? We have another one here with Borman. He's interesting too because obviously we get some pretty comical scenes of him showering and trying to escape, and he's like lying about his story. He's very Jack Sparrow in that way. But what's interesting is that what they do show about this episode is that he is a person with dreams and hopes, and he is not but just a man, right? So he does have that desire to kind of settle down. He, despite all of his missions, despite all the women he's with or whatever, he does kind of have this love, and he longed to return back. Now, this character is a jokey character. You never really can tell when he's telling the truth or not. I think, though, the point of this episode is because he drinks the stuff, this is supposed to be his true personality. This is who he really is. So even though he is that way other episodes, this is the first look inside of him that he is really, kind of the gentle giant sort of thing, right? And he's not all he says he is. The last interesting dynamic of this episode, though, is Willow admitting to Graydon and inevitably Elora as well that he isn't really as powerful or as great as he says he is. He pulled a trick and he built his entire reputation on that. That's kind of nuts, right? I think that this episode also showed us that Elora is moving towards learning magic on her own, despite the way he's teaching it. So it could also say, you're teaching me wrong. You need to move me faster. We don't have the choice to do this. And he's going to have to, allow that to happen, which I think is really interesting. And it's going to move the story along. But he keeps telling her she can't use magic until she learns like this stuff, but she's moving a lot faster. And I think that's obvious. She's like the chosen one. She's the one you need to worry about. She's, I don't want to say the chosen one, like the Anakin of, or whatever. I mean, we're generally a Star Wars podcast, but we're doing a lot of Lucasfilm stuff right now. And other stuff just for fun. We're covering it all, right? The one thing with all that said, right? The one thing I thought was really interesting is they, once again, they cut away when they're talking about Mad Mardigan. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think he's coming back, or do you think they're going to reveal some truth that makes him legendary, or is he going to show up in like some sort of spirit form? Or I don't know. It's up to you guys. It's not up to you guys. Don't get me wrong, right? But it is. I want to know what you guys think, because at this point in time, they're making it very clear that there's something that they don't want us to know as of now. So let me know what you guys are thinking, right? The very last thing about this episode is that at the very last moment, Kit gets kidnapped by trolls. Trolls? All right. Trolls are coming up. We're going to learn more about them and how they fit into this world, and get to see them and see where the future takes us, and hopefully maybe coming together as a team, like I said before, to defeat the trolls or get out of the situation that they're getting ready to head into. That's going to be episode 5, and we'll see what happens. Up until that point, if you could, like before we take off, give the video a like, right? Because you've watched this far, so you must be enjoying it to some degree. If you want to leave a comment, we'll engage with those comments below. So leave us a question, leave a theory, engage with other comments, comment on comments, you know what I'm saying? Subscribe to the channel if you like Willow, or more importantly, if you like Star Wars, because we're generally a Star Wars podcast. So hang out, watch Star Wars with us. Let's talk Willow. We're going to do some movie trailers and other things. Like, we're kind of going to branch out. So now's the time to get in on the channel, make friends with us, hang out, and help us all grow. It's going to be a good time. Until Willow comes out again, we'll release other episodes, but talking Willow, we'll see you next week when we review the next chapter. See you then.